What's going on, guys? It's GBP baby. Welcome back to another video. I hope everybody's doing well, and yeah, let's get straight into things. So first I want to suggest that you go and watch yesterday's video, purely so that you have an idea of my expectations for the week and what I want to see. Nonetheless, you can see that Monday was quiet, a small range day, not too much going on. Of course, we never had any high impact news or anything, so I wasn't really surprised. Definitely stayed out today just because you can see how consolidated it was and there wasn't really much direction. Nonetheless, moving into Tuesday, I am expecting more movement, and if you remember in yesterday's video I did state that I want to see Friday's low get taken. So moving into the new day, I am looking to see a deeper dip down into this range right here. Again, go and watch yesterday's video, but this is an implied fair value gap from the weekly, and then as we drop down to the lower time frames, you'll see what PD arrays this is. I do believe this is a fair value gap, and then remember, I do want to see us eventually reach up into this weekly fair value gap as well. Now, I don't expect us to necessarily expand into this just yet. That's why I'm waiting until maybe Thursday, potentially Friday, before we start seeing this as a target. But the fact that we've taken out Friday's high now and then we've moved away from it is saying to me, okay, we're more likely to dig deeper into this bullish order block that we have here. This level right here is 25% off the weekly wick, this blue level. Again, yesterday's video explains it all, but I will quickly go over it. And it's also 50% off the order block as well, which is what we call mean threshold. So this is still the very lowest I want to see price trade. So let's drop down to the 4 hour, and you'll see today quite consolidated, a lot of back and forth price action. Again, not very clean, but nonetheless, I would like to see that. I would like to think that in Tuesday we can dip below this low right here, and that's where that 4 hour fair value gap is residing. Now you can also see how we took out Friday's high right here, just about tagging it, and price ran away from it very quickly. So as far as I'm concerned, we've grabbed stops above there now. Let's now look for some kind of internal liquidity, such as this fair value gap, to now trade to. If we are to trade on higher, it's a whole other story, but generally speaking, I am liking how price is moving away from this. Furthermore, we can look at this up close candle right here, which is a bearish order block. And if we drag that out, you'll see how price is actually respecting the volume of it. Now, when I say price, I'm not talking about the wicks, I'm talking about volume. Look how volume is respecting the midpoint, which is what we call mean threshold, and this is exactly what we want to see, especially if we're expecting lower prices. So yeah, that's all supportive of our bias. Now let's drop down to the 1 hour, and you'll see I have my daily dividers. Again, here's today's price action. Definitely didn't trade today just because, again, I wanted Monday to trade, but now that that's done, moved into the new day, I'd like to think that we can start looking at that Monday low and this low right here to get traded to. Another thing to take note of that adds to our confluence as to why we want to see lower prices is if we look at the gap right here that happened on Sunday and we drag that through, this is what we call the new week opening gap. Let's make this blue for now. There is a lot on my chart, guys, I know, but hopefully you're following along all right. If we look at that gap, actually let's make it black just to make it stand out a little bit more. Price shouldn't need to go back above there for now, because you see how we traded through it and now we're trading below it and it's finding resistance. That's more like confluence as to why I'm looking to actively seek and see lower prices. So I like the fact that we're below that opening gap, and if we're above it, it'll treat it as support. If we're below it, it should treat it as resistance, and that's what we're witnessing right here. So that's all good. Another thing that we can use to help key our potential setups off is if we look at the range of today from the low to the high, you'll see that we're at that 50% level. So I'm going to be watching this 50% level as a potential level that price may want to return to, as in I'll be seeing if there's any setups that may form around there, because you'll see how price refers to these levels in the new day, and you might find that, you see how there's a bearish order block there, we might find that we retrace to create the high there maybe tomorrow, and then we expand for the rest of the day. So just keep an eye on that 50% level. The fact that we're below it and we're expecting low prices, I'd like to think that price can respect it, we can see continued respect. But yeah, little things like that does make a difference, but I'll speak more on that tomorrow, and obviously we'll have more context and then we'll be able to see if that is applicable or not. We will go to the 15 minute, and you'll also see there's a fair value gap lining up with that 50% level as well right here. Again, this is some beautiful displacement. You can see we're moving quite heavily right now. It is 6 p.m, so it's not exactly trading hours, but again, I'd like to think that we'll see a nice rally in London to create the high for manipulation, and then we can see lower prices and start aiming for these relative equal lows below here as our target. So yeah, pretty simple expectation, but I'm glad I let Monday trade, and it's days like this that I'm happy I just let do its thing so that I can move into the new day more confidently. Now let's say price does trade on higher and we get through this gap. If that's the case, so be it, and we can start thinking about longs into our premium target. But generally speaking, there shouldn't be a need for price to get back above there. It can do it. I'm not saying it can't do it, and it very well can. My point is, I'm looking and expecting and anticipating it not to, because we want to see that low get created for the week on either Tuesday or Wednesday. So that's going to be everything on dollar. I hope that all makes sense. Again, watch yesterday's video if you haven't already, and let's head on to GBP USD. So we'll start here on the daily as well, and you'll see how we've had quite, again, a small range day. If we're expecting lower dollar, that means we want to see higher GBP. And now we have this Monday high and this Friday high as potential draws. Now, if that's the case, that means the very lowest I want to see price trade is going to be the 50% level of Monday's trading. And that's because if we are bullish at the moment, that means price shouldn't need to go any lower than that. In fact, we can even look at the 25% level as well, which is what we're just hovering above, because that will show even more bullishness. But as we drop down to low time frames, we'll be looking at these levels to see what kind of PD arrays lay there that we can use. Nonetheless, I am looking for a nice expansion up towards this fair value gap and into that Monday high at least. So let's now jump down to the 4 hour, and you'll see how we've expanded higher. Now, we haven't quite taken out this high yet, meaning that this technically isn't a bullish order block just yet, but you can see there's a fair value gap that's formed down here. It's not really the cleanest of price action right now, guys, but nonetheless, we're expecting higher prices because we want to see dollar dip lower into its weekly. So let's go to the 1 hour, and you'll see how we came down, and look how price is stabbing down. It's stabbed down 3 times, and this is very classic of price. We've gone down once, so 1, 2, and then 3, and then we expand higher. This is very classic of price. Nice little breaker here, last up close before the down move. We can drag that out, and that's that 50% level I was talking about. So we shouldn't really see price need to come back down below that ideally, and then I'll be looking at that Monday high as a draw on buy side liquidity. So let's get that marked out as buy side liquidity. And then if price does want to be, quite expansive, I am looking for that daily fair value gap to get targeted. Now, whether that happens on Tuesday or not, I can't tell you, but we're looking for that Monday at least. And then if we're rallying strongly, then it's likely we'll reach into that premium daily fair value gap as well. This is all assuming that we are respecting these PD arrays. We also have a nice inversion fair value gap right here, and we can drag that through. Why is it an inversion fair value gap? Because we delivered on the downside, and now that we've traded through it and closed on the upside, that means that when we return to it, we should expect it to provide support. So again, any kind of retracement to the downside, because remember, we're expecting some kind of low to get created on Tuesday, we'd expect us to find support in that can help us run into our buy side liquidity target. So that's going to be interesting to look at. Let's go to the 15 minutes, see if we can see anything else. A nice little consolidation right there. Again, breaker, low, high, lower low. You can see how we came back down into that there. I'm not sure if they actually touched it, but nonetheless, we're trading on higher. And again, if we return back to this consolidation, I'd like to think they can provide support. If we trade through it on the downside, then that means that dollar's likely a lot more bullish than we expected. And like I said, we can start thinking about our premium PD array. But until then, we remain bullish, because until proven otherwise, we remain bullish, because remember, we're looking for that high to get created before we see the reversal in the week. So I hope that all makes sense, and let's now finish up on Euro USD. We'll start here on the daily as well. Here's Euro. Now Euro done a lot of movement today. I didn't even realize. We failed to take out the low. Remember, we're expecting this low to get targeted eventually, just not yet. We did trade up and take out that Friday high just as anticipated. So a lot of movement on Euro. Let's drop down to the 4 hour and get a closer look. So yeah, we just tagged that just about. Again, similar to pound, we haven't quite taken out this high yet, meaning that this isn't actually a bullish order block just yet, but nonetheless, we're expecting a continuation to the upside, where we also have a daily bearish order block that I'll draw our attention to. The fact that we haven't traded into it yet, ignoring this, the fact that we haven't traded into it will be a nice target for price to see if it can reach into that and see if we find resistance. At the same time that we find GBP trading up into its premium PD array. So that's something to take note of. Let's now drop to the 1 hour, and you'll see again quite consolidated. It came very close, but the way it's created this low and failed to take out this low over here creates relative equal lows. So again, liquidity is going to build up below there. So we're looking for rallying. We want to see price move higher before it moves lower. In terms of the lowest, I want to see price trade in the new day. It's a little bit more difficult, as you can see, just because of the price action, how generally ugly it is. Generally speaking, bullish order blocks should be providing enough support. So I'm going to look at this one. just because it's the most near. I'll look at the volume of it, and ideally we don't go any lower than the 50% level of that, because that would likely mean something else. So again, I would like to think that the low can get created within this range, and then we can start thinking about Monday's high getting targeted, and maybe this high. But yeah, I didn't realize euro had moved so much. Let's go to the 15-minute. Yeah, look at that, very consolidated. These are not environments I want to be trading in. So you won't catch me in a trade until I'm expecting a large expansion, and that will be off the back of news. But like I said, we have a nice discount below here, relative equal lows. We have a breaker as well, low, high, lower low, and then we're trading higher. So that up close candle, which just happens to line up with the bullish order block, this is a breaker. So again, this is more confluence as to why I want to see price turn there. Don't get me wrong, price can trade through it. I'm not saying it can't do it, but this is how I'm looking, and if price gets there and it's doing exactly as I'm expecting, and we turn at that point, that will be a strong, high probability setup for me to go long, to then expect that Monday high to get ran, and maybe that this quite suspicious looking Sunday high. So that's going to be everything for now. I hope that all makes sense. Yeah, definitely be patient, guys. Wait and see. That's what I can say. Wait and see how price is treating these levels right here, because if we trade through it, it's a whole different story, and I don't really want to be involved. But if we're respecting it, then it should set us up for some nice setups. Nonetheless, you can see that price is getting very consolidated, so we're not going to see much movement until the news, which is 8:30. So do be wary of that. But yeah, that's going to be everything, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to smash subscribe, join the mailing list, the link is in the description. You can also join the Discord, the link is also in the description. And I do plan on doing another live stream on Sunday at 8 PM this week, so do stay tuned for that. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.